As an Ethiopian, I'm prejudiced against both white people and Negroes. Well, as I told you before, we have also our own prejudices against the African Negroes. We consider them as inferiors. We have, of course, our own reasons for saying so.
Well, what are they, Mesfin?
Well, first thing, we consider ourselves to be of the lost tribe of Israel and not Negroes. It's only that our faces are burned that we look like Negroes. And also, we've been ruling part of Africa for hundreds of years during the 16th century, and we ruled part of Egypt, Sudan, and...
I hear this honorable gentleman is from Ethiopia. I think it's high time Ethiopians come to the site where exactly they are. I usually wonder, are you Negroes? You are not Negroes. You say you are not Negroes. Are you white? You're not white. What are you?
Well, I told you the answer. We are not Negroes. We are one of the lost tribes of Israel. It's just because our faces are burned
Yes,
that we look like
I
Negroes.
brought the point, you are lost. I think that makes a conclusive answer.
We hope that Mesfin changed his peculiar views with time, which were likely a result of his upbringing. He became a higher-ranking naval officer, reaching the rank of Commodore. While in active service, he was also an economic advisor to the Ministry National Defense. After his military career, he took on a diplomatic role, serving as a military consultant for the African Union. He was involved in the deployment of the AU's mission in Burundi and Sudan.
የአፍሪካውያን ቀን በአሜሪካ ይከበር ነበር እና እዛ ላይ አንድ ገጠመኝ አለ ሲባል ሰምቼ ነበርና ከአሜሪካን ሀገር ተቦርነ ነው ጠይቀው ያለ ተቦርነ ያንተ እንትን አለው መሰለኝ ብዙ ታሪኮችን በደንብ ያጠናል ከኋላ ነው ልክ ነህ እስኪ የአፍሪካውያን ቀን ገጠመኙን ጠይቀው አለኝ ምንድነው
የአፍሪካውያን ቀን ሁሉ ጊዜ በየዓመቱ እናከብረው ነበር አፍሪካን ሚውዚክ ፌስቲቫል ካልቸራል ሾው ኢን ዋሽንግተን ዲሲ የሚል እሺ then ሶስት ጊዜ ነው ከሰራ በኋላ 300 ብር መጀመሪያ ሁለተኛውንም እንደዛው በየዓመቱ ነው ሶስተኛው ላይ 400 ብር ከፍሉናና ዝግጅቱን ለማቅረብ እንሄዳለን ማለት ነው ሶስተኛው ላይ ስንሰራ ለየት ያለ ነው ፎቶግራፍ ብቻ ነው የምንነሳው ግን አንድ ሰው ባንዲራ ይዞ ሂዶ ፊት ይቆማል ማለት ነው ኦኬ ጋናዊ ሴት ነበረችና ፍላግ ይዘናል እኔ የኛው ዋናው ባንዲራ ነበር ግልሙጡን ነበር ያስኩት ምን የሌለበትም ማለት ነው ስንጄ ቆም ያለው ሌሎችም 16 ሀገሮች ነን ይዘው አፍሪካ ሀገሮች ከዛ በኋላ አንድ ሰው ይምጣ ሲባል ጋናዋ ሄደች ማለት ነው ኖ አንቺ አፍሪካን ሪፕሬዘንት ማድረግ አትችይም እና እኔ ነኝ በሚል ተንተነሰን ምን የተለየ ነገር አለች ኖ እኔ ከሌለው እንደው እናንተ ኢሮፒያን ኮሎንስ ነው የምትሆኑት አፍሪካን ስኖር ብቻ ነው እናንተ አፍሪካ መሆን የሚችለው ወራው ስለ አረቡ ብቻ ተነሳ መጀመሪያ first you have to feed yourself ምናምን ነገር ብሎ ሰደበኝ ረሃቡን አነሳ ይሄ እንደዚህ ከማሰብ በፊት በላጥጋ ምናምን ነገር ነው ባላ እኔ ኦርጋናይዘሩ ተረሳና እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር አቁሙ ምናምን ነገር አለ ማለት ነው እሺ sir there is no homeland security or police officer homeland security ማለት ልክ እንደ ደህንነት ምናምን በእኛ ሀገር there is no homeland security or police officer ምናምን ነገር አለ ስለዚህ አካባቢ አልካው ለምን አስፈለገ there is a terrorist innocent people killer ካረባ ሀገር የመጣው በኋላ ናይጄሪያው ተነሳና የሌለ ስድ he's right መጀመሪያ ብላ ምናምን አለ አይ ሻራፕ ሞንኪ ለዋለው ነጭ አብሮ የነበረ ሞንኪ ስል ብቻ ሞንኪውን ሞንኪ አለው ብሎ ይሁን በሷ ግምት ከመሳቀና ሩጥ
Native African.
No, not at all.
Ethiopian.
As a matter of fact, we don't have the Negro blood at all. And we migrated from the Semitic type of the Saudi Arabia and Yemen and the countries just away from the Red Sea. And the origin could be said that some people drafted and came to the northern part of Ethiopia. And then they migrated inwards. And time went on, they stayed and then the Hamitic races from the bordering, from the south and from Sudan and things like that, from the countries
but
in Africa.
Excuse me for interrupting, but if you don't have Negro blood, then this is news to me, the Ethiopians, I would think, wouldn't have any particular feeling about race relations in other parts of Africa.
We don't at all feel any relationship with it. It's none of our concern. I mean, we just don't care about it. As we don't have the Negro blood, we shouldn't have to worry ourselves. I mean, the color you might, the color of my face is just dark because it's due to the exposure of the sun. And my country is a mountainous country. It's 800 feet above sea level. And it's more or less nearer to the sun than is the other countries that lay near the equator.
Yuma?
Yeah.
You're not white?
And not black?
Not black. What
Yeah.
are you?
It's just in between.
Yuma, and I would like to know, are you, for instance, very much interested in the South African race policy? Or do you stand more or less objective towards that?
Not at all. We wish you would do things fairly. I mean, we wish you don't treat the native South Africans as you do right now. But as a matter of fact, we don't care. We just listen to your policies and things that go on in South Africa. But I'd like to ask you one question. Would it become more, would it be, would you think it would be a little...
Wait, just before...
Would the matter be worse or better, I mean, within these few years? Or what is the stand right now of this South African problem?
Could I just ask you another question before I answer yours?
Yeah.
Is there any discrimination, for instance, between the separate tribes in your country? How do you, for instance...
I'm very happy you brought that point. As a matter of fact, we, the Amhara tribes, consider ourselves superior to the other tribes, to the adjacent tribes that live in this same community. And we just consider them inferior and consider ourselves superior. And that could be something of segregation, but it's not actually in the sense that you take it and the Americans in Little Rock take it. I mean, it's just very unprominent.
I mean, do you mean that you think that the other tribes are perhaps a little too primitive, for instance?
Not a matter of primitiveness or so. It's just a matter of ignorance, I shall say.
Oh.
I mean, the Amhara tribes are more cute and clever. And that's why, they're just...
That's your tribe?
Yeah, that's my tribe. I'm
That's
proud of
very
it.
modest, yes.
Yeah.
And Yuma, do you have whites in Ethiopia? White people?
Foreigners?
White people, yes.
Yeah, lots of them. We have the Americans, as a matter of fact. They're working in different departments. And I'd like to say one point on that. They seem to be more cooperative in... they looked as though they are cooperative in my country. And I thought it was because they were in a foreign country that they should cooperate. But no, I proved it right here. They have assemblies in communities and things like that. I mean, they are more cooperative than I actually saw it in my country.
Yuma, just to get back to another point, do you then think, for instance, it's fair that if there is discrimination in Ethiopia, even between, well, the same race and the same nation...
Not the same race, of course the same nation.
The same nation.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think then it's fair to judge South Africans as white towards black? If you don't, for instance, acknowledge the less good Ethiopians, well,
we do acknowledge them. I don't mean we don't actually consider our discrimination, what you call it, is not as prominent and worldwide known as it's in South Africa. That's it.
Well, what are we actually saying here? That there is all kinds of discrimination, and discrimination is all right as long as it isn't too prominent, or as long as it isn't between black and white? What are we saying here anyway?
No, it's like this. She said, do you think the discriminations in your country is good, or the segregation...
Excuse me, let's hear from Susie on this, because Brazil's got a special point of view, I'm sure.
No, what they wanted to say is that he was telling her that she has discrimination. She's telling him he has...
Segregation, not discrimination.
I'm sorry, segregation. And she's telling him that he has a kind of segregation too. And he won't admit it.
I did. I just told you first of all. How did you happen to know
You
it?
consider
I
your
told you.
segregation different.
Yeah.
Yes, because you're all different.
Maria, I think I've learned a couple of things tonight. I've learned a little bit more about Ethiopians' racial background, I've learned something about schools in Europe these days, and the fact that they don't teach current history. We may do a little more talking about schools.